It started with a smile, the kind that hides more than it shows. At Fortune's Most Powerful Women Summit, Meghan Markle walked in glowing, but her words, they burned. After living in Britain, we needed 2 years of healing. That one line, just 6 words, sent shockwaves across the royal press room. Healing? From what? From whom? The cameras caught her glancing sideways, lips tight, shoulders squared, like someone who knew exactly what kind of grenade she just rolled into the palace courtyard. And the fallout began before she even left the stage. Within hours, headlines from London to Los Angeles screamed, "Meghan's jibe at the royals," experts baffled by Meghan's healing comment, and "the Duchess fires again, not invited, not scheduled." Not subtle, but here's where it gets interesting, because behind Meghan's carefully polished speech, insiders claim there was tension in the air. She wasn't just talking about healing, she was warning them. Reportedly, the healing line was Meghan's way of reclaiming power, a soft-spoken reminder that while the palace silenced her once, the microphone now belongs to her. And as she smiled for the cameras, somewhere across the Atlantic, that smile was already being dissected inside palace walls. A smirk to some, a statement to others, a spark to everyone. Before we go deeper, make sure you're subscribed, because this isn't just gossip. It's strategy, reputation, and quiet revenge. Now here's the twist. While Meghan spoke about scaling her business empire and short-form videos, the audience nodded politely. But the online crowd? They smelled the PR spin from a mile away. Comment sections filled with eye rolls and popcorn emojis. Even tabloids that once protected her couldn't resist. One headline read, "A word salad served cold," because that's what it felt like. Vague optimism, recycled buzzwords, and the occasional flash of resentment. Insiders at the event reportedly whispered that Meghan's tone felt off. Guarded, edgy, rehearsed. Not the California sunshine she promised. One attendee told a gossip columnist, it wasn't empowerment and it was damage control in disguise. And the internet? It agreed. TikTok clips of her healing quote racked up thousands of views, mostly from users stitching sarcastic replies. Healing? After all that Netflix money? Still talking about the palace. But healing? That's the cruel irony of fame. Every time she tries to move on, she reminds everyone where she came from. And as the press replayed her words, something darker was brewing back home. Because while Meghan was redefining healing, Prince Andrew's emails were redefining damage. Power move or desperate reach? You decide. According to the Mail on Sunday, new emails between Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein surfaced, dated weeks after Andrew's infamous BBC interview where he claimed he'd cut ties forever. In one alleged email, Andrew wrote, "We'll play again soon." That one phrase detonated like a bomb. It wasn't just bad optics, it was a credibility collapse. A man who said never again now, reportedly chatting with a convicted predator months. Later, the press called it a direct contradiction. The palace called it no comment. And the public called it enough. Royal correspondents described anger and disbelief inside Buckingham Palace. Sources say King Charles was deeply frustrated, while Prince William was furious at the renewed embarrassment. Because every time they try to modernize the monarchy, another ghost from the past crawls out with an email trail. It's not just one scandal. It's a pattern, a misstep, a denial, a headline, a shrug, then silence. Always silence, but this time the silence is breaking from within. Even royal insiders are quietly asking, how much more can the institution absorb before the public stops caring? And here's the kicker. Amid the Meghan drama and Andrew's mess, Prince Harry was quietly filing paperwork for something else entirely, a new security review in the UK. He says he wants to bring Meghan and the children home again. But home doesn't want him back. Not without protection, not without trust, and definitely not without headlines. The royal family calls it unhelpful. The tabloids call it desperate. And Harry? He calls it unsafe, and that's where the silence got louder. It's strange, isn't it? The louder the headlines get, the quieter the palace becomes. No statements. No corrections. No denials. Just the smooth, suffocating stillness of an institution built on discretion. According to palace aides, this silence is the strategy. Because when every response becomes a headline, sometimes silence becomes the only weapon left. But don't mistake that for peace. It's control. Control over the rhythm of the story. Control over what the world forgets first. Behind closed doors, there's tension. Not shouting, never that. Just clipped sentences, tired eyes, and phones that light up with yet another alert from the Daily Mail. A royal insider reportedly described the current mood as steady panic. Imagine that. The most powerful family in Britain, walking on eggshells made of headlines. They know that reacting to Meghan only amplifies her voice. They know that punishing Andrew could ignite sympathy from royal loyalists. And they know that engaging with Harry means another Netflix episode waiting to happen. So they've chosen silence, but it's not passive. It's surgical. Behind that silence are meetings. Quiet ones. Legal advisors reviewing lease terms for Andrew's royal lodge. Press officers vetting Meghan's US soundbites. And courtiers calculating what it would look like if the king finally stripped a title. That's the thing about royal scandal. The moves are never impulsive. They're choreographed, almost like a chess match. You sacrifice a pawn to save the crown, and right now, the crown is holding the line. Every leak, every headline, every exclusive source, it's all countered by silence. But silence isn't empty. It's a loaded gun that never needs to fire. The question is, how long can they hold it? Because the more they say nothing, the more the world fills in the blanks. And in 2025, speculation spreads faster than statements. Let's step back. 3 stories. 3 symbols of power, all crumbling in real time. Meghan Markle, turning every microphone into therapy, every summit into a soft war of words. Prince Andrew haunted by emails that won't stay buried. Prince Harry, fighting for security in a country that no longer feels like home. Each one circling the same palace like ghosts around a locked door, and inside that door, a king who's watching the same headlines we are. Each scandal chips away at the monarchy's illusion of stability. Because what once stood for dignity now looks like damage control. It's not just a royal family anymore, it's a brand. A fragile, high-gloss brand that thrives on mystique but dies in daylight. And right now, daylight's everywhere. The Meghan narrative, 2 years of healing, might sound harmless, but it lands like a dart. She knows exactly how to sting without naming names. It's not defiance, it's design. Each sentence wrapped in self-help, but wired with tension. Meanwhile, Andrew's silence rots. No apology, no accountability, just the same gilded cage, the same shooting weekends, the same refusal to leave Royal Lodge. His scandal lingers like smoke, invisible until it burns your throat. And Harry, Harry, once the world's favorite prince, now the man who sues his homeland for safety. His heart wants home, but his headlines want chaos. Every time he reaches out, the tabloids reach back, with claws. They all say they want peace. But peace doesn't trend. The monarchy survives because it outlives its own disasters. But this isn't the old age of scandals. It's the algorithm age. Every whisper becomes a reel. Every no comment becomes a million comments, and what used to fade now loops forever. That's the quiet tragedy of it. You can't outlive a story when the story never sleeps. Behind the polished portraits and the perfect Christmas cards, there's fatigue. A royal family running on reputation fumes, pretending the storm is weather instead of consequence. But listen carefully. In the spaces between their public smiles and the tabloid fury, you can almost hear it. The monarchy's slow, rhythmic heartbeat, still alive, still defiant, but undeniably tired. Maybe that's why William and Catherine moved early, before Christmas, before the next scandal broke. A symbolic relocation. A family escaping ghosts. A new house, new memories, new walls, but the same cracks in the foundation. And somewhere in Los Angeles, Meghan's team is probably planning her next Power Women appearance, her next speech about healing, her next soft jab disguised as self-reflection. She doesn't need the palace walls anymore. She has a global stage. And the palace, for all its centuries of protocol, still can't master the modern curse of visibility, because the crown doesn't trend. But Meghan does. There's a strange symmetry to it all. 3 stories. 3 wounds. Each one feeding the other in a slow royal implosion. The monarchy versus its own reflection. In the end, the panic isn't about titles or houses or even scandals. It's about control. Who owns the narrative when the cameras never turn off? And that's the cruelest part of all. The institution built on silence now has to fight in a world that demands noise. The crown may not crumble tomorrow, but the sound you're hearing? That's the foundation cracking, politely, quietly, Britishly. So what happens next? Does Meghan's healing brand win the sympathy game? Does the king finally exile his brother? Does Harry's fight for security become his path back, or his final goodbye? Tell me in the comments, was this silence quiet strength, or the beginning of the end?